As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be
Oh
a
man,
home
it's
run.
8 o'clock.
And so that'll make it a...
I don't need the spotlight. I shine just fine.
Hi, I'm Karma, and yes, I am a bitch.
BravBros. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of BravBros, your favorite podcast from the bros for everybody. For whoever wants to listen, I am your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only Red October Magoots. What's up, pal?
Red October it is,
Yeah,
huh?
baby. This sure is.
We're back at it and still holding a grudge over the Phillies for not inviting us to their influencer day, but I'm still going to cheer for the team.
Yeah, definitely going to still root for them. I think this is a warning to them. You know, hey guys, get us in the mix.
Yeah.
We are diehard fans.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Die hard indeed.
Die hard.
So die hard, in fact, that I've been hungover since Sunday, drinking all day for the birds, that I'm going to have to turn around and go out and celebrate the Phillies being in the playoffs again. It's just, look, it's a rough stretch. Last year, I kind of remembered, I got like PTSD.
Yeah.
One of our friends and me, we were chatting about the whole thing. It's a rough stretch, especially when the birds are playing this well and there's so much sports on. It's like every weekend, and then you think you get a reprieve. No, you get the Phillies playoffs during the week.
It's so
Hopefully
funny
for a long time.
that you said that because, again, I don't drink. I have to remind everybody of that every time I do one of these. But I don't drink. And I remember last year, the stretch of games, there was 1 week where we had a Birds game on Sunday. There was a Phillies playoff game every day of the week during the weekday. And I think that was the Saturday game for the Birds that same week. I think there were 6 straight days. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like a 6-day stretch of Birds, Phillies, 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 Birds.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was definitely something like that. And also, no, do you know what it was? It was game 3 of the World Series, or 2 of the game of World Series, I think, maybe, was the same night as the Eagles playing on a Thursday night.
Oh, yeah.
So you had to go like double TV, and I remember I was dead.
Yeah,
Just
I think
absolutely
everybody
dead.
was. I was dead, and I don't drink, and like
Wow.
it's just like I think the thing that people don't get, what really gets you,
Mhm.
is the adrenaline crash. Because if
Yeah.
you haven't been to a playoff game at Citizens Bank Park or a World Series game at Citizens Bank Park, it is unrivaled in all of sports. It is the craziest atmosphere. Everyone's so into every pitch that when you leave there, it feels like the biggest come down ever. Like trying to like
Yeah.
reacclimate to society is almost impossible. I was depressed for like 3 weeks after everything, not only because we lost, but I think just because
Because you were used to getting up and having that
Yeah.
adrenaline every day, and then you one day just didn't have it anymore.
that serotonin rush really crushes you.
Yeah, I know, and it puts things into perspective. Looking at the ticket prices in this capitalistic market we have here, the Phillies to get in the door, it's like $220.
Yeah.
All the other games combined are like $50.
Yep.
It's like 13, 7, and 20.
Yep.
Just to get in the door. Yeah. No. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But here we are, just trying to live.
Just trying to live.
get
Let us
through-
live.
Just trying to get through life. And look, I mean, we talked about it already. OC's on tomorrow night, the reunion. I'm pumped for it. The Phillies are playing at 8 o'clock. I'm gonna have to record the Phillies game and watch it at like 11 o'clock at night.
My issue with this joke is that you made this joke when you walked into my house today. I didn't even give you a reaction. I
Nope.
didn't say a word. I just kept setting up the podcast because it's not funny.
I think if you gave a reaction, I wouldn't have to do it here. Now I'm putting you on blast.
You're putting yourself on blast. Look,
Everybody knows I'm kidding.
yeah, ha. What do you want from me? It's a
Continue the joke. Talk
it's a
about how we're gonna
stupid
sit down and
bit.
we're gonna have some like chamomile tea or something.
it's a dumb
Light a
bit.
candle.
It's a dumb bit.
All right.
We're gonna be watching the Phils tomorrow. We're gonna watch the Rosie reunion on Peacock. Is it 1 or 2 parts? Do we know yet?
It said part 1, so it's got to be 2.
If it's 3, I'm
Not
gonna
watching the
lose
third.
it. You think? Should
Not
we do
watching the-
that?
if it's
We
the
will
third-
watch 2.
Yeah, no, I think that's entirely fair. I think that's more than you can ask us to do. Look, I'm already talking about how if part 1 is as bad as I think it's going to be, and they're just screaming the whole time, not making any sense and not getting anywhere because there's nothing to really talk about. Who cares? If it sucks that bad, I'm gonna threaten to not watch the second part. If there's a third part, no chance.
I think
Just not happening.
that's a reasonable premise, especially with, here's the issue. It's a big one for Orange County, especially with the season that they had. Salt Lake is great. Southern Charm is great. RHONY's had a couple of clunkers the past couple of weeks, but it's still an entertaining show. Like Bravo's putting out good material right now leading into November, which is like, did you see the lineup?
Mhm.
We're going to have to watch so many shows, and I'm excited for a lot of them. Like Beverly Hills is coming back, which is like our crown jewel, just because I think it always will be. Since we started with Beverly Hills, it's always going to hold a special place in our heart. So OC is
Our
coming.
opening music will finally be relevant
Yeah, our
again.
opening musical finally kind of makes sense. Not really, because Rinna's still in there,
Yeah.
but like I'm not going to change it simply because one of our commenters asked me to, and I
Yeah,
refuse.
no,
Now
we're
I
definitely
refuse
not.
to,
No.
because I'm an idiot and I'm stubborn. But I think that's a big issue that OC ran into. Is a lot of people were into it, as they pointed out in the comments, for a majority of the season. A lot of people started to echo our sentiment towards the end, especially the last few episodes with like the Heather witch hunt that was going on. And now they're going up against some really good shows. So it's like, I think the reunion's gonna not do great. I could be wrong, and I'll eat my words if I
The thing
am.
is,
But
it's a Wednesday night, and there really isn't like if you're not a sports fan, which is realistic.
well, hey, there's a lot more sports fans now thanks to Taylor Swift.
Exactly, there truly is. But
They had the biggest number of viewers since the Super Bowl
I
watching
know
that Chiefs game.
it's so funny.
I think it's great. I have
And
no
then the
issue with
refs
it.
just like made sure that the Chiefs won because
That
they
I
would
had
have
an
felt
issue
so
with.
bad.
That I had a problem with.
The funny fallout from that is if the Chiefs lose to the Jets, real Chiefs fans are going to get so angry and blame Taylor Swift.
I know.
But that's what they don't want. The NFL can't have that. The NFL is putting on all of their socials, they've got Taylor Swift everywhere.
They're using. I
I
get
mean,
it.
look,
Why wouldn't you?
they're both using each other, which is fine. Like
Totally.
I really do not care. But yeah, you go to commercial break and it's like, here's the Taylor Swift movie that's coming out. Okay, now back to the NFL. There's Taylor Swift up in the suite. They're not showing like the coach or anybody's reaction on the field after a touchdown. They're showing her box,
They
which is fucking
literally
hilarious.
went
They're
from
leaning into
Pacheco.
it.
Yeah,
I really have no issues with it
I don't
at
either.
all.
I
I
have
think it's
none.
cool. Um,
I think it's great to get like new football fans out there. If let's say there's out
the
of
Chiefs don't
10
need any more fans.
They don't. No, the Chiefs don't. But if there's 10 people that are out of 10, right? If two of them continue to watch football when the Taylor Swift stuff dies down, two for every 10, and that's like an increase in football
Yeah.
viewership, I'm all here for it. And all the new Swifties out there that are watching football, welcome. We're happy to have you. I think it's great. I think it's really a funny crossover, and especially for me and you, who are still like been in that crossover
Yeah.
section of
Yeah.
sports and Bravo, like pop culture and sports. I think it's fucking perfect. So all the Swifties out there, welcome to football. We're happy to have
Well,
you.
the funny thing is, I think her international tour starts in November because my biggest gripe was going to be, and I've been thinking about it, that Monday night game in Kansas City, Eagles Chiefs. If she
Oh,
showed up with like one of those split Kelsey jerseys, I would lose my mind.
pickle.
Bad
Yeah,
fandom.
yeah. We can't as Eagles
Pick a
fans. You
team.
got.
I actually would respect it more if she just wore Travis Kelsey's
I think
or
I
like
would
a Chiefs
too.
shirt or something. But no, she's going to be on tour, so I don't think she's going to be at that game.
All right. Well, maybe that loophole.
It's gonna die down, is what I'm saying. Like
It's
next
gonna.
couple
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
I
it
don't think
should.
she's going to the next couple of weeks. So.
But anyway, let's get back to the Bravo.
Oh yeah, bravo.
Yeah, we need to do our power rankings for the week.
Yeah, honestly, there was a good segue in there, and then we started talking about Taylor Swift. But I do think, and you kind of alluded to the lineup coming in November. I think that if Bravo can hit at the clip that they're hitting at right now,
Yeah.
where we've got what do we have 4 active shows right now, so
Yes.
we're looking at like a 75% clip with OC being a real clunker. RHONY is good. It's good enough that even in the bad weeks, I can put it on and not like you pay attention obviously because we're going to talk about it. But I mean like I'm not super entertained the entire time, which is fine
There's
because that's
yeah.
actually what these shows are supposed to be for.
Right.
It's supposed to have really entertaining times. And then the rest of the time, it's like, yeah, it's on in the background and I don't mind checking in and seeing what's going on here. So that's kind of where RHONY is right now. And that's where it's been for the last couple of weeks. Southern Charm and Salt Lake have come through so nicely. Southern Charm is always going to have a little bit more of a special place in my heart. So I've got
Sure.
the number 1, Salt Lake 2, RHONY 3, and whatever that last one is wherever it is.
I'm gonna
I don't even want
go.
to say.
I'm going Salt Lake 1. I'm really enjoying Salt Lake. I think Monica is a superstar in the making if she continues at this rate. Obviously, there are pitfalls to Housewives that she needs to avoid to maintain this rise to stardom that she's currently having. But Roslick 1, I'm going Southern Charm 2. It's had a great start, like just exceptional, honestly, with the drama that's brewing right now. You might hate JT. I think he's fantastic for TV. I really do. It's just a good start to the season. And then RHONY 3 because of the clunkers we've had for the. But like you said, like here's my thing with RHONY. Is it top notch right now? No. There's just a couple things that are like mildly frustrating, I guess, but it's not bad. It's
Yeah.
fine. Like it's totally fine. There's not going to be great episodes every single week, so I'll take a down week where I'm not like, all right, this one sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that we just got off of a girls trip, so obviously we're gonna have those individual conversations and
Right.
not everybody in a group.
Right.
I can't relate to that anymore than possible because when you go on a trip with a bunch of your friends, the last thing I want to do is hang out with those friends like the next
And
week.
you know what
I
sucks?
want to see you guys in a week or
You know
two.
what sucks?
We have to see each other twice a week.
Regardless.
Yeah, I know. That's different though. We can separate business from pleasure. Pleasure.
Hey, don't
Hey.
threaten me with a good
Hey
time.
now we're talking. All right, why don't we get started?
I didn't
We'll
even
hop
rank
into
OC,
it.
by the way.
Oh yeah, I know. Don't even mention it. Honestly,
All right, let's dive in.
number 4 Phillies games. Actually, no,
Oh.
number 4. The rest of the MLB playoffs.
Yeah, and then OC unranked.
Yeah.
They're off my APP power rankings. But that takes us to Southern Charm, and this was a polarizing episode. If you want to use some good adjectives, polarizing would be a great one to describe it because this shit is real. This tension is palpable between Taylor and the rest of the group, honestly. But what do you think about this season thus far? Like, how's the kickoff for you?
Well, there's new words that were added to the dictionary. Did you see that?
Yeah, John was put in there.
Well, no, John was a couple of months ago. The new ones, I think it's simp, bussin, cap, and something else.
I don't want to do this. I hate those words.
Well, I would say
Oh,
I would say
no.
this season the Southern Charm is bussin.
I fucking didn't
And
see
it's
it.
just good
I
vocabulary.
didn't see it coming. Damn it.
Stupid ass.
Oh, that's cap.
Yeah, there you go. Nice, dude. Nice. Now you got it. No, I really do. I think that this season specifically, like last season, had its ups and downs, which is normal. It's fine, but it's just so nice and different where we've been focused on housewives so much
Mhm.
that you get a completely different element, and we needed that. And I've thoroughly enjoyed the first 3 episodes here, and obviously we're getting so many different dynamics, and there's new people popping up, and JT is what JT is. I know we're going to start there. But at the end of the day, it's still an enjoyable episode. It's something that I actually look forward to watching every week.
Yeah.
Something that as soon as I turn it on, I know it's going to have my attention the entire time, and that's all you can really ask for.
That's a good way to put it because there are moments, especially like with a show like OC, where it's a chore, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm like, fuck, I have to watch
I
this.
think Beverly
for a
Hills last
podcast.
year too. It's not just OC. I know that
Beverly-
we
no,
rag
no,
on
and
them
that-
a lot, but
Yeah, that Beverly Hills, or sorry, OC is getting the hate right now because it's on. But yeah, Beverly Hills on the 28th episode of last season was a trudge. Like there are certain ones that we get to and we're like, all right. But yeah, Southern Charm is a nice little relief. So let's jump right into this episode. We start out at your boy JT's apartment and he's FaceTiming with his mom and he's a mama's boy. And that's like the least surprising news ever. And pretty much everything in this scene, I assumed about JT, not diabetes. I'm not saying I
I
assumed that.
assumed he had
No, I
diabetes.
didn't assume that. What I mean is like the fact that he is a real estate guy or he's a real estate developer and renovator and things like that. I will say it. I would love to check in with him now because his biggest business is Airbnb in Charleston, which I imagine at the time was very lucrative. Airbnb is tanking right now.
Are they really?
Yeah, it's not doing
Oh.
great because people are making the move back to hotels. It's not nearly as
It's going to
profitable.
be
as it used to
cyclical,
be.
I'm sure.
I
They're
would
going to have
imagine.
to adjust a couple of things. You know what the biggest problem with Airbnb is that you can name your own price. So
Yeah,
you make your own price point depending on what you think your house is worth to stay in, and that it was never sustainable. But look, I mean, I respect somebody who's got business. Now, obviously, he had money to start off with because his mom's very prominent up in where was it, DC?
Virginia.
I think she has a interior design business in DC.
Oh, that makes
And
sense.
that's
if
where
they're
he
from
like
Virginia.
learned
Yeah,
everything
okay.
from.
Yeah.
And it's a smart move, honestly. Like if you want to go stage a couple of places to do photo shoots and then you want to go do some Airbnbs and stuff and you want to kind of like hunker down to Charleston, great spot to do that. A lot
It's
of
a
bachelor and
yeah,
bachelorette parties going down
absolutely.
there. A lot of people visiting for the weekend, a lot of people commuting out there. So it makes a lot of sense.
And I
So
feel like with Charleston, there's such like a specific Charleston vibe that if you make your Airbnb out to be that,
yeah,
people are gonna pick that one every time. Like
sure.
the very Charleston-y, like colors, pastels, like
Yep.
things like that.
Little
For sure.
old, little exposed brick. Yeah, it makes a lot of
Yep.
sense. So I can separate the art from the artist, if you will.
Nice.
In the sense that I respect what he's doing business wise. It sounds like he's got a good head on his shoulders, or at least he's got people in his corner that are telling him what to do. That's fine. Him saying mommy 15 fucking times is the most cringe shit that I've
Yeah,
seen
I don't like
on
when
Bravo in a while.
when adults call their parents mommy or daddy. I really don't like it.
No.
It really makes me like cringe and it just makes me uncomfortable. there's just something to it. Like, just call them mom or dad. I would even be more comfortable with you calling them by their first name than mommy or daddy. There's just
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
it's
like
just
it.
the whole time. Like I get it. Like he dropped it once. If he dropped it as a joke, it's one thing, but he kept doing mommy. No, it's just you
Even you
can't
saying
do
it
it.
right now is making me
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
I know, and I'm talking about somebody else's mom. So there you go.
But moving on from there, we get some pedicures with the boys. And I gotta ask, have you ever gotten a pedicure?
No, no,
You
I
haven't?
haven't. No.
Would you?
Yeah,
So I have this idea for us.
I'm afraid that like it would tickle too much and then I'd kick the person in the face. But
Well, that no, I
I think
can
that's a reasonable fear.
tell you from experience. I'll get in that story in a second. But I have an idea, all right, for like some off-brand stuff for us to do. Okay, so every time that like we see dudes trying stuff on Bravo, and there was another example in shoot, what was it? Was it
The,
OC this week? Or
the enema?
no.
Jesus
No,
Christ!
no,
What
no,
a
no.
weird way to bring that
No,
up.
no, no. No, I don't want to try that with you. But my point is I want to
The
oh,
IV later?
no, it was RHONY. It was the sound bath. So here's
Off
my
with the
idea.
goddamn
No, no, no. I
sound
know, I know,
baths.
I know, I know. I know you don't like them. My point is, I want to get somebody to film us doing some activities that the Bravo casts are doing and
Okay.
put that on YouTube and
Yeah, I
see if
think that's
people
fair.
like that. Like me and you going to get a pedicure and just like filming that. Me and you going to do a sound bath and your reaction to it. Like, I sound off in the comments if that's something that you think would be funny because I think it's a funny premise, but it could also totally flop because
Are we
people might not
streamers
care.
now too? Like
No,
chat,
no, no.
chat, chat.
I'm not
Let us
saying
know.
that. I'm just saying I want to know because like that would be to me it's funny, but I could also see people be like, we don't care that much about you too.
Yeah.
So let us know. But anyway, petty with the boys. I have gotten one pedicure in my life, and it led to the worst ingrown toenail ever because I got it during spring training,
Mm,
and then I was catching like 10 bullpens a day,
hmm
and because of how they cut my nails, it literally was excruciating. They had to pull it out. It was a whole thing. So I'm anti pedicure forever, not because I think I'm too manly to get one by any means. It's because I got one and it led to a really bad experience. So I'm out on pedicures.
But just listening to Craig talk about it, and look, Craig, you do whatever you want, bud. I know you're doing well in life right now. But talking about like, oh no, I do like a little light blue on my
I don't
pinky over
care
here.
about, you know
No,
what?
no, 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 no. The any nail color on your hand. No, I'm out.
You're
That's
out.
where I draw the line. I like it sounds like he was doing the clear thing on his foot for protection,
Yeah,
which
it's preventative measures.
so that they look clean all the time. I don't know. Maybe he's got a feet finder. Who the hell knows? But yeah, no, I draw the line at the yeah. I get it's too Sandoval. Yeah, I'm just out.
Oh, that's a fair. Okay. With the Sandoval thing, okay,
And
I get it.
Cali.
I don't have I would never do it. I have no problem with it. Like, if you think you can pull it off, go for it. I think it's a really tough look to pull off, but if you think you can, that's
If
your
like my
prerogative.
6-year-old niece wants to paint my nails or something,
Oh,
that's a
Poppy's
completely
painted my
different thing.
nails.
Yeah,
That's a different
that's
story.
completely different.
But hey, do you, boo boo? I don't give a shit. But they're recapping the boys' night, and Shep, who was seemingly, towards the end of the night, he was definitely getting more skeptical and more upset about the situation. He's had a night to think about it, and he's really uncomfortable with the Austin and Taylor relationship, as he should be. And he asked Craig, like, do you think anything's going on? Because I'm sitting at like 50-50 right now, which is pretty damning,
Yeah.
I think. And this is a very interesting tidbit that I think we should have been party to way before. And maybe I'm not because I haven't watched previous seasons. Apparently, Austin has a history of this where he goes after exes and hooks up with them. He did
Yeah.
it to Craig. He's done it to Shep to the point where they show a clip of Shep and him having a conversation. And once again, I fault Shep for a lot, and I do not like Shep. When it comes to how he handles his friends, he seems like a good dude in that respect only because in the conversation that we see with him and Austin in the past, where he's like, I heard you were hanging out with this girl, you knew I was into her. In the future, can you please like come to me first? He still doesn't blow it up out of proportion. Like he seems to have his friends' backs, or at least does not want to damn them for doing stupid shit to him.
Right. Yeah, Shep, at least this season, shows glimpses of actually being a good dude. And
Glimpses.
I think this could just be a difference between like what obviously we were watching what he was doing in that relationship last year, and you're like, dude, what are you fucking doing the entire time? And he gets to the point where you were very annoyed and hated talking about Southern Charm because of Shep.
Yep.
But now it's like you're kind of starting to feel a little bit bad for him because he does kind of look like a puppy dog.
Slightly,
We
not
know
really.
what's going on. We know how the Taylor relationship was and everything. But you see him in this moment, and when he's talking to Olivia, you're like, ah, dude, like you're trying, you're just kind of lost. You don't really know what the hell's going on, and you do not know what to do. I did think it was kind of funny that his now obviously I guess he lives right down the street from Olivia over in Isle of Palms or wherever they are. And the idea that the night after we get to talk about how Taylor and Austin are hanging out and
He hangs
like
out one on
he
one with
goes and hangs
Olivia.
out with
Yeah, I
Olivia
thought the
one on
same
one.
thing.
Like, but like I think that was actually innocent, and I think that was fine because apparently Olivia's parents were like, "Yeah, Shep lives right down the street. He can help out and do this and whatever." And he came over and dropped some pheasant off, which is
And put a
whatever.
light up. And for me also, like just saying that out loud, at no point am I like, oh man, maybe Olivia and Shep are gonna hook up. Like
No, 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 no,
I know Olivia
definitely not.
to the point where it's like she's not gonna bang Shep. So
I knew that light bulb, by the way, was going to turn on as soon as he screwed it in. I knew that power wasn't off.
oh no.
Yeah.
No, it never
I
is.
was waiting for it.
I've done it once where the light bulb exploded
Yep.
upon
I've seen it.
connecting. Yeah,
Well,
that was scary as shit. But regardless, it seems like, and Shep alludes to it as well, like it almost seems personal, where like if you continue to target exes, like that says a lot about you. And that says to me, like during their relationship, you were clearly putting out some vibes. And we saw that a little bit with Taylor last year.
yep.
That scene where they're shopping for shoes, and he's like, "You're like a sister to me," and we both were like, "That's inappropriate.
Yep.
This is weird." So you know what? It might be a pattern with him where it's like, I hate to say I don't like the way that Shep words things, where he's like, "You want what like I have," and like compares women to toys in a sandbox. But I understand what he's trying to say, where it's like you want something that is not yours, like this is not your relationship, and for some reason you covet that, covet thy neighbor, if you
Yeah,
will.
I mean, there's a lot of patterns. I mean, you could also kind of look deeper and say maybe Shep's allowing his girlfriend to get like it's a tough thing to even say, honestly. But like, if he's done this in the past and you're still seeing like, all right, Austin is getting to the point where he's really close with my girlfriend.
You would
You know,
think
you want that. You want your friends to be friends with your significant other, of course.
friends, sure,
Friends, sure, but not like talking about how they're like brother and sister and going
no.
shoe shopping one on one together. Like that's a little weird. And if that's happened a bunch in the past, you kind of have to sit down and have a talk and be
If
like,
I
"Yo, this
start
is
date, or if you start dating a girl
yeah."
and I call you and like, "Hey, we just went shoe shopping together,"
I'd be
you
like,
would
"Did
be.
you get me anything?" And the answer is probably no.
I'm just saying, like nobody would be thrilled at that
No,
scenario.
definitely not.
So
But
I don't know, but let's keep going because the next scene is atrocious. We get Austin, who had called Taylor the minute he woke up and was hungover and invited her over for an IV treatment. Now, any reasonable human being, after the night that you just had, the last person you think you'd call to invite over is the person that is under question
yep.
because that seems like a really shitty idea. But Austin does not seem to care about any of that stuff. So he invites Taylor over for like a hangover IV. She shows up, and even the way that they're hanging out together, and I know I'm nitpicking, but I'm going to because we're trying to get to the bottom of this. It's so comfortable. It's so much to me like a couple hanging out after a big night out. Like, oh, let's just lounge on the couch. We'll have some coffee. Like, let's recap. It's not friendly. To me, that doesn't seem like two friends shooting the shit. To me, that seems like there's more there immediately just by how they like act around each other.
Yeah, you know what the one sentence that Austin said was that kind of stood out to me was as soon as Taylor got there and he was finishing his coffee, he even said, "Let's go sit over by the couch because it's going to be much more comfortable for us."
Yeah.
Like that's weird. Like who talks like that?
Somebody
It's like,
trying to
"Hey,
fuck somebody.
let's go sit on the couch. Let's go over here." Any of those sentences are fine.
Let's go
But once you
relax.
start like once you start describing the comfortability of the room and where you're going to be, a little weird. A little weird.
Let's go sit down on something a little more comfortable.
Yeah, let me slip into something a little more couch comfortable.
Yeah, no, I didn't like it, but they're sitting there and they're recapping their evening. And this to me also screams that there's something going on because she makes a point to immediately, the first thing she brings up is that she met a guy.
Hmm.
And to me, that's trying to convince either the viewers, yourselves, or each other that there's nothing going on here. Because we talk about dudes, we talk about other people. So clearly we're not hooking up. And she talks about this guy she met and then goes through her big three. Her big three are funny, smart, and must love Jesus.
Good big three.
It's a big three
You
for
have a problem with
her.
that big three?
I don't know, man. It just seems
You have a problem
again.
with the J man?
No, I don't. Do you? It's your prerogative. My issue is everything to me seems like she's calculated in her answers. She's calculated in the timing of it. Bringing up the guy in general to me
Well,
was a
that's
weird
interesting.
timing. And
Now,
then
do you think that there's a little bit of I don't want to use a bigger word here, but do you think that they're kind of manipulating it a bit in the sense
Yes.
that do you
Yeah.
think that Austin texted Taylor before that phone call and said,
Oh,
"Hey, why don't you come over here? Cameras are here. We'll get an IV and we'll kind of talk about this. This is what happened last night. So let's throw them off the trail a little bit. Let's just hang out as friends and tell me about like a guy that you just met and you want to hook up with. I'll tell you about like my girl problems and maybe that didn't make it to the edit." Like I could see that happening.
I could see that. I could
But
see
like
it because he
that's the
seems
thing with this
snaky.
show all the time is I feel like I give them more credit than where it's due. A lot of times they're just idiots.
I think that's it. I think
And if we're going the idiot route on this, then I actually believe that Taylor met somebody and isn't throwing anybody off the scent. They're just truly confused about what relationship they have. That could be it.
I do believe she met somebody.
Yeah.
That's not under question for me. I do think, and like, look, is Austin slimy enough to send that text or have that phone call beforehand? 1000%. Is he bright enough to do that? Like you said, I don't think so.
I don't
But
think so either.
I
No.
think in their mind, like they are trying to throw people off the trail. Whether there's a trail to follow or not, I think they're doing the most to try to cover their tracks, even if it's just covering their friendship tracks. Because
Mhm.
again, even if you go to Shep or Olivia and say, yeah, Taylor was at my house this morning doing an IV drip with me, recapping the night, they would have an issue, as anybody would.
Yeah, I think they would. And you can tell that Olivia is a little confused about it too when it gets brought up later. And
Sure.
nobody really knows how to make their friendship, like what it means to anybody, let alone the two of them. So
Well,
clearly
here's
they've got issues.
the most damning thing to me is Olivia says I wouldn't bring it up to Olivia that I slept over here. And I wouldn't bring it up to her because I think it would make her feel uncomfortable. If
Mhm.
that's the sentiment, if you know that, then you should not do it. If that is your girl, that's your friend, you guys have been palling around together, apparently inseparable to the point that you're calling each other sisters. If you would not tell her about something, then you have gone too far and you answered your own fucking question.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But moving forward, we get to I called it a tea party at Vanita's because they're spilling tea. You like that? And it's kind of set up like a tea party, even though they're not drinking any tea. But it's Leva, Madison, Taylor, and Olivia. And I finally figured out what Vanita's role is on the show.
Okay.
Vanita's role is bringing people together for things to blow up. It happened last year at the engagement party. It happened, or I guess at their quote unquote joint birthday
It was,
party.
yeah, even you're calling it
Yeah,
an
see,
engagement party.
and it happens here at her little party where they're sitting around and just chit chatting. This is Vanita's role. She's
Nita throws a good party too.
she
That
does.
was a
So
very nice little party.
it is, but if that's what she brings to the table for now until she kind of finds whatever route she's
I
going to
think
take
she's
on the
right
show,
now. She's the bridge between Madison and the rest of the group.
right? And that's
Like Leva's,
also
you know, obviously Leva has her own thing going on with all her businesses and a different show.
sure.
So she's going to show up a little bit here and there, and we're okay with that. Look, I mean, Leva was great a couple years ago. We kind of see the writing on the wall, like she's moving out, she's going to her other show. That's great. But Madison's still a force within this show, and
Yeah.
she's not really that connected to Olivia and Taylor. You still have to have Vanita in there because Vanita's going to have the parties where I'm going to bring Madison over and
Everybody
we're all going
comes
to talk.
together. I think
Otherwise,
that's her
it's like
role.
I can't see Olivia calling up Madison and saying, "Hey, why don't we go grab some coffee?"
Well, she would because they have to for production.
Yes.
but it seems more scripted.
But let's
than-
not forget that last year they hated each other
I know.
because of the Austin thing. So
Right.
like there's got to still be a little bit of animosity there. I know that Madison's doing this whole housewife thing where she's turned a new leaf, and the same Madison is still in there somewhere, and
Well,
we're
we
going to
get
see it
little
at some
hints
point.
of it. We
Yeah.
got a hint where the dog.
She's alluding to it a lot in her confessionals, so I think it's going to pop up at
I
some
do
point.
too,
I hope
and,
it does.
You know,
'Cause
you
it is
get
really good for the show.
that little stinger where Taylor's talking about her dog being in heat, and she's like, "Oh, she just like put her ass up towards him, like Charles, Vanita's dog."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, where'd she learn that from?" And I'm like, "Ooh."
Mhm.
And that's like that's
But
what
then she
Madison
said
does.
definitely not her mom.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely not her
Which is
mom.
also mean.
But at the same time, you're like, I know what you're doing there
Yeah.
because she brings it up later. But they start discussing like Austin, and this is ridiculous. Austin walked up to Olivia while she was on a date with another guy, and I guess she made out with him, and he walks up and like inserts himself into the situation and then introduces himself to the guy and then says, "I didn't take you for a AAA kind of girl." Like shitting on this guy because he's a AAA baseball player, which is the most insecure shit I've ever heard. Like, why do you need to go over there and assert yourself?
Yeah,
to
and
this
that
man?
1,000% happened.
I do believe
I
all of that.
fully
happened.
believe that exactly happened. I think she got
Literally.
it verbatim.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what he said. I think it was as off-putting as it comes off
Yep.
to us. It's like, what are you hoping to accomplish there?
Look at you making out with dudes out here in the open.
Yeah,
Like,
what are you-
yeah, of course he's gonna say that.
Like, what a fucking moron. And by the way, guy, you're the one that fucked this whole thing up. You have no dog in this fight. You are not allowed to say things like that to her because she tried to extend another chance to you. And after a week, you were out. And we're
Yeah.
starting to find out why. And it's because Taylor was in the mix and Taylor was in the picture. And we'll get there. I don't want to jump in too soon, but they're telling Taylor to like how to squash her shit with Craig. And it makes total sense. Like the overall sentiment being, hey, we know you're scorned by Shep. Unfortunately for you, you come off the bad guy when you react the way you do. Right or wrong, we understand that he's the one that's at fault here. But when you lash out the way you do, it looks bad on you, not him.
Yeah.
So the way to go about this is to live your best life, act like you don't give a shit, go out there, put your best foot forward. Instead, Madison points out Vanita points out that we're seeing a different Taylor. This is not who we've seen in the past. You're acting differently. It's off-putting because you're doing things that you wouldn't normally do. And I'm going to take it to a whole different level and say, and I don't think it's the same situation by any means, but who else did we see this year that was acting entirely different than the person we've seen in seasons past? Come to find out, there's a lot of sketchy shit going on behind the scenes. Raquel,
Yeah.
right? So, like, because we watch these people so intimately and see how they tick, when they're off and then the group points out that they're off, there's usually more skeletons in that closet. That's all I'm going to say. But Madison finally points out, and this is why she's great for the show, because she'll say it. And the conversation is Taylor defending Austin. And that's the least surprising news ever. She's like, Austin's just a really good friend. He's not a great boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. Madison's like, he is low key in love with you. And Taylor's like, what? No. And I'm sure part of her is happy to hear that. But the most interesting part is Olivia comes to her defense and goes, no, I get their relationship. I've actually appreciated having a middleman between Austin and I. She kind of bridges this gap for us, which is nice. They were friends before I came into the picture. I hope that they're friends after. Like, I respect and I condone this relationship.
Who else said that? Just last week.
Fuck, Ariana?
Where did she get that from?
Oh.
She just had a conversation with somebody who said that almost exactly. Shep, about
that's right.
about Taylor.
That's right.
He
And
said
then
that same thing to Olivia. I really value your friendship. You're kind of bridging the gap between the two of us
That's a good
so that I
point.
can make sure that she's okay, and I like your friendship, and I wish you guys the best.
See,
Olivia, the very next week, says the same thing.
it's the perfect cover.
I think that Shep is being genuine, but Shep is keeping an eye on Taylor. Not in the sense that, like, he wants her to be happy, in the sense that, like, I don't want her to fuck, like, me up even further, and I want
Yeah.
to keep my distance with, like, keeping an eye on her. Olivia just took that from him and just said that in that
Oh, you
moment. So
think?
I'm like, I
Oh,
don't.
interesting. But regardless, she seems unbothered, or at least wants to paint the picture that she's unbothered. But moving forward, we get to check in with Craig and Sewing Down South, and I will always and forever point out how proud I am of Craig for Sewing Down South because of the shit that he got from Naomi back in the day about, oh, we just gonna sit at your sewing machine and sew, because that was such horseshit from her. And now he's on the Home Shopping Network. They just got a big deal with Kroger, so he's going to be in all these stores. He's opening up a warehouse. Like, it is a incredible business that he's built off of sewing, and fuck Naomi for shitting on his dreams. And I'm so happy for him that he's able to push this shit to the next level. And we do get a very, very interesting fact here. Because they're going to make this move into Kroger stores, and because the demand is going to be so high, he will not be able to back and forth it from New York anymore.
He wanted to spend the whole summer in New York.
There. And I guess that guy is like the business manager. I don't know who that man is or what his
He's
role
probably
is.
the main investor, I would imagine, or head of operations or something like that.
Something
Yeah.
big, to the point where that guy's like, not even like a soft, like, we'll see. It's a firm. Absolutely not.
Yep.
We do not have the time for you to be bopping back and forth from New York. You definitely can't take months off to go up there because the demand's too high, which is a good problem to have. But at the same time, I think we're setting up a very difficult conversation for Craig. I don't think it's going to be a difficult conversation for Paige. And here's an interesting thing, because when we said a few weeks ago that the clear move is for her to go down to Charleston, everyone's like, well, you shouldn't follow a man and blah, blah, blah. And I agree. Like, we're not saying that it's the woman's job to follow the man by like any standards. I'm not saying that at all, because I understand where that could bite somebody in the ass. Sure. My point is, his stuff, his business is brick and mortar. He has a headquarters. She has the flexibility to do her job from other places. That doesn't mean that she has to make that move if she doesn't want to,
Yeah.
but that means the relationship has to end. You can't have a if she's not willing to make the move, right? He physically can't. His business is down there. He can't close up shop after they've hit Kroger, Home Shopping Network, XYZ. That it's just a much more tangible thing than her business in which she can do from a remote location because a lot of it's virtual. I'm not saying she has to make the move. If she wants to stay in New York, that's her prerogative. Don't follow him down to Charleston. Fine. But if you want the relationship to continue because of the details, he can't live in New York. He simply cannot.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point, and I think that honestly, this situation is a blessing in disguise for their relationship. Otherwise, they're going to be yo-yoing back and forth, not really defining anything, not saying, "Okay, I'm going to move down here, you're going to move wherever. We're going to spend the whole summer together and figure this out." Like, no, you've spent enough time to figure this
It's
out.
going to force the
The
issue.
answer should be there already, and it's not. And we've talked about this in the past. Like, you either know or you don't know. And if you don't know and you're not willing to budge anywhere and you're not willing to move, then you kind of know the answer to it already.
That's
You're
all I'm
just not
saying,
saying it out
right?
loud. This kind of forces their hand. He will not be able to go. Now, obviously, he can still do weekends, I imagine, some of them, but it didn't look like they have a huge crew. They have a lot of demand, and whoever that guy is, the head of operations, said, "We're going to hit like 3 or 4 setbacks. I already know that's going to happen."
Yep.
I think he's being modest. I feel like it's probably going to be like 5 or 6. There's a lot of fucking things going on there, a lot of moving parts. Craig has to be there for all of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's got no accountability within his own company, and that's not a good thing to do. So he's going to have to stay in Charleston for the most part. He might be able to bop up for weekends, but there won't be full weeks up there ever this whole summer. So deal with it and have the conversation. It forces you to now. Craig wants to have that conversation. He's tried to have that conversation. Paige kind of pushes him off here and there and here and there and whatever, and then starts crying about how she doesn't want to leave her mom. That's also fine.
It's fine.
Everything is fine. But if the relationship's not going to work because you guys are states and states away from each other, then it's just not going to work. And then maybe at some point in the next year, when things calm down and Craig can hire somebody to do his day-to-day operations and he can kind of sit back and collect the money from all of his work that he's done for the last couple of years, you may be able to find each other again. But right now, it's not going to work. This forces that conversation, and I think we're going to get it in the next couple of weeks.
I do too, and it's going to be interesting to see which way it goes.
Yeah.
I do firmly think that Paige would be fine with it continuing on the way it is for an extended period of time.
It's just not good for Craig's psyche, I don't
I
think.
don't think so because Craig's ready to take that next step. And
Yeah.
again, that does not mean that Paige should fold and give in if it's not what she wants. She
Yep.
should do what she wants to do. But I think it's reached a point where a decision
Just
has to
can't
be
sit
made.
in that gray area anymore.
No,
Yeah, it's not good for
both
anybody.
of their
Yeah.
sakes, right? For her and for him. Because
Yep.
if he wants to move forward with her and she's not ready, that's fine. That's her prerogative. Do what you got to do, Paige. Live your life in New York. No shame in that.
Do you, boo boo?
Do you, boo boo? But he's got to make a move. So I'm glad they're forcing it because it's time. And everyone's like, it's only been a year. Yeah, but it's a year in reality TV time, which means that we need the shit to move forward. We cannot continue to talk about this. But moving forward from that, we get Austin and Rod, and they're meeting for drinks. And I do think this was a forced scene by production. Like, you guys need to sit down and hash this out. But I like Rod. I said I liked Rod last week, and he takes the time to at least tell Austin, like, hey, man, here's the situation. I've been hanging out with Olivia. I like Olivia. We might have made out a little bit. I'm coming to you man to man just to put it out there so you don't get blindsided by it. Austin's reaction is that of a child. He doesn't take it well. As you like to point out frequently, how long did they actually date for? Like, second, Austin points out, well, she's not my property. Third, Austin is such a fucking child that he has to go, well, I did see her making out with another dude last week, just to like throw a dig at him,
Yeah.
which is so dumb. This guy's he doesn't owe you shit. He owes Austin nothing.
No.
He doesn't owe him this
But I
conversation.
think, like you said, I think it's got to be a production thing. There's no way. I did at least find some solace in them having known each other for 7 years.
yeah,
Instead
but
of what I thought it was when I saw the trailer, thinking, who the fuck is this guy? They don't even know each other, and they're going to sit down
yeah,
one-on-one and talk about a 6-month relationship that Austin had. No, stupid. I thought, aside from if he hadn't done the comment about her hooking up with a guy last week at a bar, like, we just saw her and Rod kiss like 3 days ago.
yes,
Maybe they weren't even talking. Maybe they just started talking. Who the fuck cares? They're not
doesn't
dating.
matter. They're not dating.
They're not dating. They're not boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you want to call it. He doesn't need, neither of them need to be in this situation, but they are both there. So I'm thinking production as well. It sucks for both sides. There's not a lot you can do. Austin handled it how Austin handles it. I think without that comment, I think that's exactly what we expect from from Austin.
Yeah,
And I'm okay with that. I don't really need any more from that. But yeah, throwing in the dig of her hooking up with a guy is just trying to get back at Rod. because he feels like this is personal.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's
"Well, you're
not.
going after the girl." It's like, no, every single fucking person on this show that is single and dating makes a point to say Charleston is incredibly small. And you're going to see everybody that you've always dated. You're going to see people that they've dated.
There's gonna be
This is just
overlap.
how it's going to be. There's overlap. Deal with it and move on. It's not a fucking big
Yeah,
deal.
grow the fuck up. But Shep and Olivia, this is when he goes over there to give her some pheasant post hunt, which, you know, not gonna say anything, but if somebody walks into my house post pheasant hunt and plops down on my white couch, I would have something to say about it because you're definitely covered
I
in
don't think
feathers.
he came right
He
from the
did.
pheasant hunt.
That vest, he still had his earplugs around his neck.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't
And
notice
that
that.
vest is a pheasant hunting vest because pheasant hunting, a lot of the time, is a wealthier activity.
Yeah.
And the hunt itself is not usually that difficult. A lot of times they plant the birds there. It's almost like a slaughter fest, but that's neither here nor there.
My
But
issue was that he didn't fully dress the pheasant. There were still feathers on it. So, like, what is Olivia going to do with
he
that?
didn't dress that pheasant.
Well,
No.
you don't
There's
think so?
guides. No, no shot. There's guides there that when you get done the hunt, you give them the birds, they clean them, vacuum seal them, and give them. Trust me, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looked like that was just like a gallon Ziploc bag. Didn't
No,
look like a vacuum
nope.
seal.
Somebody cleaned that pheasant and gave it to him to take home.
Okay.
1000%.
All
But
right.
regardless about the pheasant, they are talking and recapping. And once again, Olivia takes the stance of, yeah, I know how they are, but like they're just close friends. I condone this relationship. And Shep is like, I don't feel good about this. And I'm glad he brings up specifically when it was brought up by JT, the sleepover, because I don't think Olivia knew about the sleepover. But when he brings it up to her, he says, Austin got tongue tied. And that's a big point to make because we know from experience watching Austin when he gets caught in an uncomfortable situation where he's not telling the whole truth, he looks up at the ceiling and goes, "Oh, well, listen." And he doesn't have a response. He got caught off guard by JT, which I think anybody would have, and that was such a weird scenario
So
anyway.
forced. It was
It was
crazy.
crazy. So I think that it was perfect because it forced the issue and made him uncomfortable. But that's when Olivia goes, fuck, there might be more here because if Austin's tongue tied, Shep is this uncomfortable with it. He clearly, like, there was a vibe last night when the boys were talking about it. I might need to dive into this more. And she takes it upon herself the very next day to call Taylor and set up like a coffee date. Like she's driving and Taylor's setting up her day chaser event, which is still got to be one of the worst names for a
Still
drink.
doesn't make any sense to
It
me.
sounds like a liquid IV.
It does.
It sounds like a hangover
And then
cure.
they even had an IV thing in this episode, so it threw me off even more.
That was a good company name. It was called Thrive, and the IV was highlighted. And
Love that.
yeah, that's creative.
That's good branding.
That's good marketing. Day Chaser is not, but she's setting up an event for Day Chaser at Republic, and Olivia goes and meets her, and they start chit chatting, and Olivia starts to dig a little bit, and she brings up the tongue tied thing. Why was he tongue tied? What's going on between you guys? I'm sure she was expecting a much different response than she got because Taylor takes the most bizarre approach to a point where you got to give her some level of respect, I think, for at least being completely upfront about it. Like, she didn't pull any punches. She goes, look, after the reunion, we were both hurting. We were in a weird spot. We bonded. It was pretty much like a trauma bond. So we connect over both of our mishaps and both of our relationships to the point that I questioned it and said, should we explore this more? Wild thing to say to Olivia sitting there, but she tells her anyway, should we explore this more, to the point I called up my brother, talked to him about it. He said, you're going directly out of the frying pan into the fire. Why would you invite this on yourself? Austin, he goes and talks to his sister about it. And to Olivia's point, if you're taking the time to talk to family members about it, that means it's too intimate. It's too close. You guys are overstepping boundaries here. And it's disrespectful to both Shep and to Olivia.
Yeah, and it's one thing if that happened and they weren't still hanging out as much as they are
Correct.
one-on-one.
If they took a
Because
step
then it's
back
like,
at
all
it.
right, what happened to you guys? Like, you guys used to be so like inseparable. Now after the breakup, you're not really talking and you're being awkward around each other. And then this comes out, you're like, okay, that makes sense because you guys had an uncomfortable moment. You weren't sure what was going on. You had a discussion. You realized it's not good, and now you stopped hanging out, and it's awkward. I get that. People are still going to be butthurt about that, of course. Like Olivia, Shep is going to do what Shep's going to do, whatever that is. If they were upset about it, I'd be like, you know what? That's the right move.
It
They
is the right move.
separated.
They
That
separated.
is, but no, they're still hanging out. They're still calling each other in the morning. They're doing one-on-one hangouts. They're doing weird coupley things together when they're not dating. Like, no, you had this awkward moment. decided, we think, we're going to keep it at face value for now,
Mhm.
decided to not pursue that. Good, great job. And now you're still hanging out and like you just move past it. Like that's not how people work.
No, because the
Even
elephant's
if
still in
one
the
of them
room.
was able to, like, you know what, maybe Austin can separate that and he's completely different. You can always rely on one of the people to be completely invested in the
Not both
relationship.
parties.
Not both parties. They are both still feeling weird feelings about each other
Absolutely.
and they're hanging out a bunch. Like this is only going to raise more questions. So while I do condone, I guess, Taylor coming clean and talking to Olivia like this, you're not doing yourself any favors.
Well, here's the
You
caveat.
didn't have to tell Olivia that, in my opinion.
I don't think she did either. I think she could have sugarcoated it a little
You
bit.
could have pulled
You
back a
could
little.
have
You didn't
gotten
have
the
to talk
point
about
across.
talking to your family. You
No,
certainly did not have to say that Austin called his sister.
absolutely
'Cause
not.
that makes it even
But
weirder.
but Olivia did ask, and I'm glad that she was at least honest about it, but it shouldn't have gotten to the point where
No.
you let that information slip. You should have
Nope.
said, "Look, we had a weird moment. We discussed it. Like, we decided, like, no, absolutely not. We can't move forward." So that was the end of it. That's how you present that information,
Yes.
not diving into as much as you did. The other part of this whole thing, the worst part of this, Austin and Olivia tried to figure things out for a week after the reunion.
Mm-hmm.
That means
That
that while they
timing.
were trying to figure that out, he was also having this conversation with Taylor. That's fucked. That means that he is emotionally playing both sides of the field. He's trying to figure things out with Olivia, quote unquote, and at the same time, having a conversation with his sister about Taylor. Both are inappropriate for
Mm,
so many different reasons. And I just think that it's a slimy fucking move.
I have a different approach to that. I think that he reached out to Olivia afterwards because he had unreasonable feelings about Taylor, had that conversation with her, decided to not pursue that, felt weird, went back to Olivia, and essentially is like, I am in a weird fucking place right
That's your
now.
timeline.
This is not going to work. I just don't think that it's smart for me to be dating at all, let alone with you. We don't know specifically what he said to her. We've heard like a roundabout way, but if he took the approach of, look, I just had a fucking weird ass conversation with Taylor. She was my best friend's girlfriend, and I considered dating her. I'm not going to turn around and be like, you know what, Olivia, like, let's go. Like, clearly, I'm not in the right frame of mind. I shouldn't be doing any of
I
this.
think you're giving him a lot of credit.
I'm thinking, like, I don't know. I just try to put myself, it's a crazy place to be, but put yourself in that position. It's like, that's probably the best outcome is saying, I am not emotionally ready to be dating right now. So I should just step away from everything.
I think you're giving him entirely too much
I don't
credit. I
know.
think a reasonable person might think that. I don't think he would. But here's the last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to move on. This is when the God stuff bugs me because she starts crying and going, I was using him as my crutch, not God. It's like, don't you dare use religion to back yourself out of this. I think that's horseshit. I think by like throwing the God thing in there, she's saying, that's why I was just lost because my relationship with God was messed up. And I think that's horseshit and manipulative.
Yeah, it is. I think it would have been way more manipulative like 50 years ago, but anymore it's like, all right, well,
It's just like, dude,
you know,
don't bring that part of it up.
look, look, to each their own, whatever they want to do. But when you throw it into an uncomfortable
Like
situation
that.
like
That's all I'm
this,
saying. Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a scapegoat.
Yeah. No, I have no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you again? I'm just saying in
I
this
strayed
scenario,
away
it's
from
like,
my
what the
religion.
hell?
You get it. You're a man. You're a woman of God as well. You understand. It's like, no, no, I know what you're doing.
Maybe not the time.
Yeah.
But now we're on to RHONY. And again, not my favorite episode, not my least favorite. It was just, it was whatever. It was entertaining background TV.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, I will ask for that 10 times out of 10 compared to OC or
Yeah.
something that I feel is a task to watch.
Yes, exactly. It wasn't a task. It wasn't the most captivating, but it wasn't a chore.
Yeah.
But we're going to jump right in. We get Jessel and Pavitt. And this was a nice scene between the two of them, finally. Like, I felt like both of them were, and maybe I'm starting to understand the dynamic a little bit better. And Dev's the one that pointed out to me, like, they were friends first before they dated. So it's kind of more of like a razzing relationship.
Sure.
And like, I can appreciate that. So, like, maybe I'm warming up to it more, or maybe they finally just showed like an entire scene of them so you can see, like, yeah, they take jabs, but they seem to really like each other.
Yeah, I
So,
think they do. I also just think that she's a little more mild towards him now.
yeah,
So maybe she's had some feedback. Maybe she's talked about it. Maybe she's thought about it. I don't know. It could just be like that early season, first time on camera jitters. And
coming
you're
on
like,
too
yeah,
strong.
this is my husband. Everybody does this to their husband. It's like,
Yes.
no, maybe calm down a little bit. But I agree. I thought that it was a nice scene. I liked seeing the two of them talk, and I don't think it's because we know Jessel more. I think it was just a better scene.
Yeah. But what does grind my gear is, and yeah, singular gear, When Pavitt comments like this and says, you left me with the kids and no nanny to go off with your friends, it's like, don't do that. I hate when dads say shit like that.
Especially when you have a trip to Thailand
Yeah, you're going by
or
yourself
Vietnam or
to
wherever the hell he's
Vietnam
going.
for a sandwich, but don't do that. Like, if she wants to go away with her friends, you don't have a nanny, they're your fucking children too, buddy. It paints a bad picture of dads.
It does.
Just fucking watch
Dads
it.
everywhere.
They're your kids too, asshole. Let your wife go off. She carried them, as she points out, I carried them for 9 months. I think I'm due 9 months vacation. Yeah, because guess what, Pavitt? You didn't have to push kids out of your pee hole. Like, not that women do that. I'm saying like he as a
Anatomy.
man would have to
Oh,
put it
okay.
out
All
of his
right.
pee
Yeah,
hole.
okay.
Let me clarify that. I understand
Yeah.
how the body works. I'm saying if he was going to push it out of somewhere,
Okay, yeah, no, you're
he
good.
only
You're
has one hole. Well, he has two, but he's not going to use his butthole.
I think probably.
Am I driving this into the ground enough?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
My point being, watch your damn kids without complaining about it. Definitely don't complain about it to their mother, who definitely puts up with her kids way more than you do, Pavitt. So fucking deal with it, pal. But regardless, she's talking about the vacation and how Aaron continues to kind of grill her about her privilege. And look, it's kind of a murky area. And we see that where she says, I wasn't painting the picture that I was like poor or anything. And then it does the clip of, I only had $20 in my bank account.
Hmm.
But then we get another clip where it says she was using her savings. So she had a savings to go to New York. So my whole thing with it is like, I think she's just trying to relate to the group. I no longer am vilifying her for it, where I'm like, your story's not the same. I think she's doing her best to connect. She's just very clunky in how she goes about it.
Yeah, and again, like we talked about this before, you don't have to do that.
You don't.
Not everybody in this group tried to relate to Bryn and Sai.
Right.
They just tell their story. And if it's less exciting than their stories,
That's
if
what you
for the
wanna
lack of a
call it.
better word,
Less traumatic.
less traumatic, then just say what your story is and just move on. Like, oh yeah, I really wanted to move to New York. I was able to do it, and here I am. Great. That's cool.
It
That's
was,
awesome.
it
You
was,
moved from a
yeah,
different country to this country and you made it in New York and now you're living your dream.
yeah. And
That's
say
really cool.
I saved up some money while I was living in London, so I was able to use my savings. It was a grind for a while because I only had X amount of money, but I built it myself. Look at me now. Great story.
Yep.
Great fucking story.
And
Just
look,
say that.
if you say that and then Sai has an issue with that, then that's on Sai.
That's on
That has
Sai.
nothing to do with you because all you're doing is just telling your story. It shouldn't impact somebody else because it's your fucking story.
Exactly.
But once you start getting into the nitty gritty and going specifics and talking about how you were also poor, just like you, Sai, like, no, don't try to relate. Just tell what you're doing.
But again, I think that's just her
I think that's what she's
trying
doing,
to
yeah.
connect. I don't think it's intentional. And I think she just kind of sticks her foot in her mouth a couple times. And we'll get to Psy later because woof. But they finally schedule a little staycation in New York. We're finally gonna get some action.
Not in an Airbnb.
Not in an Airbnb. They're going to the Ritz Carlton. Pavitt has it all set up. He's got the nanny on I guess the secret nanny, which
That was a weird joke,
yeah, it
too.
was a weird joke to make. She takes it well, thank God, but it was a strange joke. The point being, they're finally gonna do the do. Good for them. We're happy for them. But the next scene, we get Jenna, and she's at Henrietta Hudson's, which is a gay bar in New York. It's actually like the first bar she went to after she came out, I guess. So like she has a connection to it, and she's got her wing woman Bryn, and Bryn's a great wing woman because she will just
Incredible wing
like
woman.
outstanding actually because she goes and finds a very, very pretty girl, brings her over immediately. I guess, or did she come over? Regardless, Bryn's a great
I think
wing.
the other woman came over, but between Bryn kind of like throwing the eyes out there and then the camera crew, you're going to come over and check it out.
But there is a rumor going around that this scene was planned. That at the time Jenna had a girlfriend, and I'm not putting any validity to this. I'm just relaying something that I heard that Jenna was dating at the time, but wanted to have this scene in the bar. How do you feel about that?
I don't like planned scenes.
I don't like them either. I'm just
No.
saying, like, do you think there's any merit to that?
It didn't seem like it. I don't think so.
It seemed
I
genuine.
think
to
honestly,
me.
it was building blocks off of how good the trip was for Jenna and Bryn.
Oh, that's a good point.
Jenna became so much closer to Bryn, way
Opened
more
up,
herself,
loosened up.
opened up, loosened up, allowed Bryn to just kind of be Bryn, which Bryn loves to do as well. And having her go to a gay bar and be your wing woman, that's incredible. So I had no issues with the scene. I don't think it was planned. If it was, I'd be bummed out about it. But it's not as big of a scene.
No,
So I
I
don't think that
wouldn't
we're ever
really
gonna get like
care.
confirmation on it. So I'm just gonna act like it wasn't.
Yeah, and also at the same time, if it came out like that was all planned, I'd be like, oh, I don't care.
Yeah,
Like it was an
whatever.
entertaining
Yeah,
scene. I don't really care. But
not gonna remember this scene in like 2 weeks.
no,
So who
Janet gets
cares?
the digits, and good for her. But moving on from
Weird
there,
move, writing the digits on the Sharpie though on your wrist. Like what are you
I
doing?
thought that was strange too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
real
maybe
weird.
in your
Hey,
phone.
there's a phone.
Maybe
Your
use your
phone.
phone.
iOS 17 just bumped me.
Uh,
You know what I'm talking about? A little bump.
yeah, the pump.
I'm gonna delete your number and then we'll bump later.
I don't do that because
You
I
don't want
haven't
bump?
updated my phone in like 3 updates
Oh,
to the
you're one of
point
those.
where when people send me certain emojis, it just shows up as a question mark. Yeah. So I gotta update my shit. But anyway, maybe I'll get that new titanium asteroid phone.
Hey now, it came from space.
Came from space according to the Apple commercials, and I
So many
believe it.
fucking commercials. We
I
talked about the Dancing
believe
with the Stars commercial last week. I know we were watching ABC, but that Apple commercial, enough.
we talked about it in the group chat, our fantasy football group chat. I need to double down. Why do I care that it's made out of titanium? Why are they pushing that?
It's still gonna break.
I don't understand
If I
what
don't put a case on it and I drop it on the ground, it's gonna
it's
break.
going to break because they make it that way. So you have to pay more
Yeah.
to get it fixed. So why do I give a shit what the material is? It's still an iPhone.
I don't know.
I
Unless
don't
they
understand.
create a new material or a new element, I don't care.
This is made out of
Adamantium.
Apollonium.
Yeah. Oh, Apollonium actually makes
Apollonium.
more
Yeah, they're
sense.
probably
I was
bet
making
me.
an X-Men joke, but yeah.
Bet me. I know, but bet me that's the next thing. It's made out of Apollonium. We found it in a meteor.
I hope.
But the next scene was tough, in my opinion. We get a double date with Cy, Aaron, and their husbands, and they're talking about Jessel and the sex thing again, which is so weird. I don't know why they're so fixated on this and how like they're they could not even survive without having sex for even a couple of weeks. And if that was ever an issue, then they would bring in other people into the relationship and maybe just a gay guy so that it wasn't weird. Which like the routes that they take to tell us that they have sex with their husbands is ridiculous.
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
I don't understand why they're talking about Jessel's sex life as it is. She's not there to defend herself.
It's
None of their
ridiculous.
business. She shared some information with them. You would think as friends that they would, kind of just keep it close to their chest. So yeah, maybe the two of them can talk about it. Once you bring your husbands into it, I know that there's the stigma like, well, that's my life partner, so I'm going to talk about everything to him. It's like, yeah, important things.
Well, don't
This
talk.
doesn't impact anyone's
You
life.
talk about Jessel's sex life, and then the weirdest shit is when they bring it up, they're like, "Well, like, what would you do if we didn't have sex for a year and a half?" Abe's like, "I'd fuck somebody else." That man was
Yeah,
dead serious.
immediately.
That man, that was not a joke. That wasn't a bit. He was like, "I would fuck somebody else." Across the table, Sai's husband's like, "Oh, the relationship's over."
Yep.
It's like, wait a minute, guys. If you don't bang your wife for a year and a half, it's either I'm cheating on you or we're done. What if there's extenuating circumstances? What if they just had twins and they're insecure about their bodies? Like, what a shitty way to paint husbands in this world if the only thing that's important to us is having sex with our wives. Maybe they're going through some shit, you selfish assholes.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
liked
can't-
the husbands until that scene too.
I did too. It's fucking atrocious. It's like, guys, shut the fuck up. If we didn't fuck for a year and a half, fake it. Fake your fucking answer. If that's how you actually feel, is you're gonna fuck somebody else because you're a
They didn't
scumbag.
even ask like a follow-up question and be like, "Well, what are the circumstances? Why?" Maybe ask why.
No,
Why didn't we have sex for a year and a half? It's like, nah, somebody else probably.
probably just gonna bang somebody
Yeah.
else. Like, what a douchebag thing to say. And the conversation doesn't get any better because then Abe more or less doubles down. He's like, well, then we get into swinging. It's like, hey, Cy,
I think about it like, 10 years from now, maybe we get into some swinging.
like, what the fuck?
What?
Like, in my
I
mind,
get it. Like, like sex is so open nowadays that it's like, yeah, you can talk about things like that. But at the same time, you're doing it on like live television. There's going to be a lot of people watching out there. It's just a
Then-
really odd thing to be talking about.
Aaron's response is, we're from New York. I guess what we do here. It's like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends that live in New York and they don't swing.
Eat
They don't even talk
pastrami
about swing.
sandwiches and,
Like, they eat
pizza.
big sandwiches and pizza. That's what New Yorkers
that's
do.
what New York's do.
But my biggest takeaway is, hey, Cy, hey, Aaron, instead of focusing on Jessel's sex life and her relationship, maybe, just maybe look inward at your own because your husbands don't seem that cool. If they're talking about either breaking up or fucking somebody else
I don't
that
even
easily,
think it stops at the husbands though, because it's not like Cy and Aaron did anything to stop them. They were laughing the entire time
But I
and
don't get it.
agreeing.
I honestly think that in that moment they wanted to come off like, oh no, ha, like we're cool. We can talk about this
I'm
stuff
not a
without
normal
getting
mom. I'm a
upset.
cool mom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly
October
what
3rd
it was.
today.
I know, Mean Girl Day. But that's exactly what it was. It's a great callback because they were trying to be the cool mom. That's exactly what they were doing. Like, oh, this is how we talk to each other because we're so comfortable and our sex life is so amazing that we have to shit on somebody else who's having insecurity about her body after having twins and hasn't had sex with her husband in a year and a half, which is actually a pressing issue that they need to get figured out. But we're going to make light of it and talk about swinging, having sex with other people, and divorcing because we don't bang our wives.
Yep.
What a shitty way to paint both men
Bad friends.
and husbands. Fucking brutal. But we get to Shooter's favorite event. We got a sound bath day. But this one is different than anyone that we've seen. It's like a
Because they all
combination.
fucking hated it.
Well, no, that was interesting, but it's
That was
like
good.
it's
Finally somebody acted normal during one of these things. This is how
Here we
people
go.
react to these fucking things. They
not
all
everybody.
they gave like half-assed answers, and then in their confessionals said, yeah, it's just kind of boring, and you hear somebody in the background going bong, 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 and like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know. I'm just gonna hang out here and not really focus on things. Yeah, Uba cries, but it was Uba's event. Of course, she wants to do this. This is what she wants to do. People finally had real reaction to this instead of the bullshit like, I want to be a better friend to my other friend over here, and then go back and start like talking shit behind their back. It never works.
Speaking of that,
Finally, we got real people going to one of these events, and this is how it's supposed to do it.
well, speaking of that, literally rewound twice so I could do this correctly. I wrote down everybody's intent, and I want to read them to you and tell me if you think that this is going to pan out. Okay? So, Sai is to be more present.
No.
Jenna is to open up more.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think she's already kind of started that, so yeah, okay.
Jessel is to be more grounded.
No chance.
Aaron's to be more patient.
No fucking way.
And Uba is to love herself more.
That I believe.
That
That one I definitely
100%.
believe wholeheartedly.
But after our last conversation about the sound bath, where you get so upset about the intentions, and then the next scene we see them fall apart, I wanted to take the time to write them down.
They're all intentions for whatever the storyline is for their person in that season.
Yeah,
And it still rings true here.
sure.
But sometimes it's like Uba's, obviously. Jenna, we've seen open up a little bit more, so I can see that. The rest of them, it's like, this is something that you told me that you dislike about me, so I'm going to make that my intention to be better at that. You're not. You're going to be the
Ah.
same fucking thing.
Good point.
It's just annoying.
Well,
It's enough of them. Go
let's
back to
keep-
the Roaring 20s parties.
No, I'm done with it. Oh, that's an interesting point. Dev pointed that out to me too. It seems like every season or every year, each show just highlights one event they're going to do, and then they do that in every show. And I think last year was the Roaring 20s parties. This year is sound baths and self-healing. I'm curious what next round's going to be. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Drugs.
Jesus Christ.
Hard drugs. Nah, just psychedelics. A little ayahuasca in the desert.
Ooh,
A little peyote.
Vision Quest?
That would be sick. I would
like
love
idea.
that.
A Vision Quest that's a good
I'm
one.
in. Sign me
Yeah.
up.
All right, let's keep going. We got a quick touch in. We had a quick check in with Sai and her daughter London. I didn't realize she had an older daughter. She's like 8, 9, somewhere in there.
I started that scene and I must have missed when she said daughter. I figured it was like her niece, and then
No,
I
that's
realized
her
how
daughter.
much she looks like her. I'm like, oh, that's got to be her
They're
daughter.
identical. Dude.
Yeah.
They're identical. But moving on from there, we get Pavitt and Jessel, and they're getting ready for their big night out together. It was an interesting scene, and you can tell, I think what rang true the most is how uncomfortable they both are.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long.
Yes.
They're both trying to navigate this. I can't imagine not having sex for a year and a half, and then the first time you're trying to like reacclimate to it, you're doing it in front of a camera crew.
Doing it in front of a camera crew, everybody around you knows that it's going
there's
on.
a lot of
And it's a
outliers.
planned thing. So it's like, hey, we're going to have sex on this exact night. Here's what I'm going to wear. I didn't think that she should have worn that. I think she should have like kept that a little special, but who am I to tell
I wrote
anybody?
the same thing. Why did you show him?
Yeah, exactly. Like make that like a surprise. But
I like that.
I'm not going to tell anybody to do it. He laughed when she walked
I know.
out. I had
said
an
it to
issue with
Dev.
that.
I
Yeah.
said, like, if you put something on and I laughed at you when you walked out the door, that'd be the end of the night.
Yeah.
Like,
The
night's
end
over.
of the night, you'll never see that piece of clothing
Nope.
ever again. But she handled it well.
She did.
I don't know. I don't even want to say handled it well. She laughed back.
She took
Like
it
it was just a fun moment. And you know what? What I most got from this scene is that they do have a good relationship.
it
They
seems
are
like it.
they kind of enjoy each other. They can build off of each other. The way that they talk to each other, it works.
That's what I'm saying. They
And
razz a
that's
little
all
bit.
you can
but
ask
it's
for,
okay.
honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole conversation about the trip to Vietnam, what he's actually doing over there, X, Y, and Z. Here's an interesting thing. So, like a month ago, somebody commented on our video when we brought up the Vietnam trip originally,
Yeah.
and they said
It was for
it was a
mileage.
mileage
Mhm.
run. I didn't believe that until this
It made
episode.
sense when
Then he drops the mileage run. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, apparently that's a thing.
Yeah.
All right, fine. Like that was believable enough for me. But the next scene, we get a lunch between Sai and Jessel, and it was fucking hilarious that Sai tried to give her the late show up, fashionably late. She
Mhm.
was 20 minutes late. Jessel is 45 minutes late, so her plan backfires. It doesn't work out for her. But this lunch, I don't know what's up Sai's ass. Because, like, Jessel's taking the time. Like, her biggest issue, everyone's biggest issue with Jessel is that she doesn't open up, right? And we've seen her try to open up in the past, and like we've commented on multiple times, it's not great. She tries to relate instead of just giving her story. It's not perfect, but I don't think it's intentional. I think it's just her not being good at presenting the information. She's trying to connect and she does it the wrong way.
Yeah.
In this scene, she's trying to explain to Sai, hey, if I made a comparison, I'm sorry. It was too far. I didn't mean to do that. That wasn't my intention. Anybody else would take that and go, you know what? All right, like clean slate, or hey, yeah, that did bother me. This is why. Let's move forward. Or, yeah, I didn't like that. I'm not sure we can move forward. There's multiple ways that you can go about it without being a total asshole. Sai, the whole time, is making faces. Sai is being rude, standoffish, and then she finally says, I really don't care.
Yep.
I just don't care.
She doesn't care. And honestly, I believe her. I
I do
really
too.
do not think that she cares until she gets an opportunity to kind of throw it. It's almost like, look, you can be proud of where you came from. You can be
Sure.
proud of the journey that you went on to get to where you are. It is inspiring when you're talking about it weeks ago at this point. We get it. Like that's really fucking cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yep.
But we're starting to see that she's kind of snobby about it. Like, how dare you even try to say that you came from somewhere that's even remotely close to me? I came from the gutters of Paris, France, and Hugh Jackman gave me a fucking piece of bread that he stole, and I was in Les Miserables. That movie's about me. I think that, yes, her upbringing is crazy. It's traumatic. There's a lot going on there, but you can't be snobby about that. The whole point of what you went through is to understand the other side of the world. So you're going to sit here and be like, you know what? No, my story, way better than yours. So much more traumatic than yours. How dare you even try to come even close to me and compare? And I think that Jessel was okay in the beginning apologizing
Yeah.
because she knows look, I struck a chord. I was just trying to relate, and a couple things in your story made sense to me, and I didn't really do a good job articulating, blah blah blah. She didn't go into specifics yet. And once Sai says, I do not care, she's all pissed off. She does not want to be there. She doesn't understand why she's there in the first place. I think the production probably made her go, and she didn't want to be there, and that's why she was 20 minutes late. She
Maybe.
wanted to show why she didn't want to be there. I loved it that she intentionally was 20 minutes late. Jessel showed up 20 minutes after her.
Yep.
Real fuck you to you, and I love that. But as soon as she says I don't care, it's like Jessel panics. She doesn't know what to do.
She does.
She has no idea, and she starts going into this. You told a story about your mom, and then she gets overly specific, which I
This
hate.
is where,
I
yeah.
absolutely hate every time that somebody on TV does this, and we see it in real life all the time too. If you start over explaining and getting way too specific about something that just doesn't need to be that specific, you're either embellishing or trying to relate too much, or something's going on there. It's just not a good look. And Sai does get like I need to leave. I'm just gonna fucking get the check and go. Look, maybe you're just not gonna be friends in the future. Sai comes off way worse during this whole conversation because she just looks snobbish, and I hate it. And Jessel's trying at the very
She's
least, so
trying,
I'm
and
gonna
that's
give
like,
Jessel that. But Sai slides right to the end of the power rankings right
yeah,
away.
oh, I know, immediately. And it's like, was she overstepping by trying to compare her uncle and that situation to your mother? Absolutely.
Mhm.
I think anybody watching was kind of like,
As
ooh,
soon as you start the story off with, it's a lot like yours.
right.
Ugh, no.
That's just, don't draw comparisons and you would have been fine. But I see in that moment where Sai could have had an issue, but up until that point, Sai was just being flat out rude. And Dev pointed this out as well. And she's like, nothing is ruder than when somebody just acts like you're stupid.
Mhm.
And that's all of Sai's reactions are like, wow, you're just an idiot. Like, oh, he's going on a mileage run to Vietnam. Like, all right, moron. Like, I just can't even get over a year and a half of you guys not having sex. Like, everything is like, how stupid are you, Jessel? Like, how dumb could you possibly
You're
be?
making me come here on a work day. I've
Yeah.
got work to do.
Like, I've got
Look,
things-
I'm proud of what you did. But you work at home and you unbox things. You can do that at fucking 10
You
o'clock
can
at night
take
if you want to.
pictures, man. Like
Yeah.
my thing is, I'm not downgrading what you do.
No, but
Like
until you're an asshole, then I'm going to downgrade everything
yeah,
you
now
do.
you're being a dick about it, and all Jessel's trying to do is smooth things over, clear the air, and be able to move forward. But instead of giving her the space and the grace to do so, even if you have an issue with it, like say that you have you want her to be open, and then you go on this whole tangent about our issue with you. It's like just be real,
Yep.
just be real. Well, how the fuck is she going to trust you to be real when she tries to talk to you and you're dismissive and rude and treat her like a moron?
If we got anything out of Sai and she actually came back and explained why she feels the way that she feels, different situation.
Yep, but
She
we
doesn't.
don't.
She just downplays it the entire time, rolls her eyes, and leaves.
It was horrible. It was
Yeah,
a brutal
it's
scene.
just tough.
Psy drops to like way to the bottom of the power rankings. It's unfortunate, but that takes us to the question part of the show. Up first from Bill Zarbo, BL Zarbo. From a man's point of view, what do you think of Jessel's marriage? Now we talked about it. Shoots.
Yeah, no, I have no problems with it. I feel like the more that we get with her and her husband together, you get to see what their dynamic is. No relationship's going to be the same, so you can't really compare it to anybody else's. And they're trying, which is good.
I
I don't know
agree.
why maybe they're trying because other people are putting pressure on them or they're scammers or whatever, but they're trying.
They're
So
trying their
that's enough.
best. Everyone lay off. That leads me to Kelly2422. Be nice to Jessel. She is harmless. We were. We were the nicest
We
we
were.
could to her. So don't
Yes.
worry, Kelly. From K Sparklick. Or K. Oh, damn it. K Sparkle K.
Sparklick.
Does Sai even want a second season? I don't know. I think that she's trying to play the cool hand card so much that it's coming off that she doesn't care and doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have we seen her leave places because she's hungry or complain about food? Somebody invites her to go to lunch and she doesn't want to go. Doesn't
Yeah.
really make a lot of sense to me. She's just not showing up enough and she's kind of being an asshole the whole time. So that's not enough for me to give you a second season. Now, do not bring in one of the old RHONY cast
No,
members in
don't
place
do
of
it.
her.
Don't do it. People are talking about Leah McSweeney. Like, don't.
Nope.
Just don't do it. Up next from Shara Shears. Shara Shears. God damn it.
Sarah.
Sarah Shears. I'm trying.
Sarah.
Shara Shears. If you had to keep only one Housewives franchise, which one would it be? I like that.
Only one?
Just one.
God damn. Because you gotta like the city has to play a big part.
There's variables here.
Oh no, there's too many variables. Probably Beverly Hills, just because it's LA and there's huge mansions. It's not like the White House compound down in Miami. Miami's cool too. Yeah, probably Beverly Hills.
I gotta stick with my fave. I'm going Potomac just because I love that show.
Yeah, but it's the
The most
franchise.
okay, so the one that could have the longest life, probably Beverly Hills. It's the most dynamic. You can put and plug in
It's
the
the most like
there.
entertainment centric area. I feel like
Yeah, and there's
it's LA. There's people that are involved in the industry. There's movie stars, producers that pop up. So yeah, I'm gonna say Beverly
there's a
Hills.
lot of
Makes no
people you can
sense.
plug into that
Yeah.
franchise and still do okay. All right, yeah. Two more from Amber Lee 19831. I know it's 19831, but whatever. Do you guys think Austin and Taylor actually slept together, or was it a drunken makeout?
I don't know what to think anymore.
I think they did.
I think there may have been a drunken makeout. There's also a chance that there was nothing,
Nah,
and
they did
it's just gonna be a
something.
witch hunt the whole season, which I kind of hope isn't the
I
case.
think they hooked up.
Yeah, I think they probably hooked up at some point. I don't think they slept together though. That I know. I don't know. I really have no idea. This whole episode kind of threw me through a loop.
Yeah, that's fair. And the last question is from Shooter Magooter. Are you really going to watch the Phillies over the Rosie reunion tomorrow? We had to start and end with it. Thank you
Yes, we
so much for your
did.
stupid fucking joke.
Just kidding. Go Phils.
Go
If I'm not
Phils.
gonna watch Salt Lake tonight, I'm not gonna watch OC tomorrow.
Nah, Phil's, baby. Red October. So y'all should watch it too. But other than that, do you got anything else?
Go Phils.
Go Phils. Remember to follow us on our socials at Brav_Bros. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe at BravBros Podcast. Remember, we have a live show coming up in November 19th at the Bourbon Room in LA. The bros are going to the West Coast. We need to buy plane tickets. But other than that, go Phils. Red October.
Let's go.
Woo.